Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Heartland Farm for this Sunday's edition of The Toy and the Real McCoy. Today we're going to do one that I've been looking forward to since we started this little operation here in January of coming on Sunday afternoon with The Toy and the Real McCoy. Remember, you can also watch us on YouTube under Tractor Tim and the Toys. And again, we ask if you enjoy our show that we do here on Sunday, if you would share it with your friends so we can let them enjoy it as well. We do have some guests here, so if you see somebody wander in and out on the camera, we've got a group of people here taking a tour at Heartland Farm today, and I've taken a break away from them to do a show that I've, like I said, looked forward to right from the beginning of this. I've got two drawings that I have to catch up on before we do anything else. As you know, we draw for the prize a t-shirt and a hat every week for the people that share our show. We put your name in the hat. So for when we did the Dodge Bighorn a couple of weeks ago, which would be 3 broadcasts ago, we are going to draw the winner of a hat and a t-shirt from all the people. And there was 90 people that threw their names in that day. I'm going to shake them up here a little bit. Jim Little wins this a hat and a t-shirt from 2 weeks ago when we did the Bighorn. So Jim Little, we'll make sure we've got that set aside for you. You're local, we'll see you maybe at the dealership. For Memorial Day weekend, which will be 2 weekends ago now, we did the Mercedes-Benz Unimog, kind of a half truck, half tractor arrangement, if you would. Did a lot of history on that. I've always loved Unimogs. I have a great collection of toy ones out here as well. Jeff Knight, you're the winner of a hat and a t-shirt. And then the big drawing, going to come out of the hat, Argyle Farm Machinery, our departed friend Lester Lufkin. And that is for the show last week we did, which was the Harley-Davidson Edition International Lone Star Semi-Tractor. And you're going to get a die-cast Harley-Davidson Edition International Lone Star. So, winner of that, Thomas Maynard. Thomas, I'm pretty sure you live locally here, so stop by the dealership and we've got a 164th Harley-Davidson Edition International Lone Star for you. Once again, folks, thanks for sharing. Today's show, what am I doing with that there? Got to get it so I can read it. Today's show is going to be about the Oliver 2255 tractor. The Oliver Corporation was formed in 1929 as a merger of 4 companies. One of them was the Oliver Chilled Plow Company, Hart Par Tractor Company of Charles City, Iowa, Nichols and Shepard from Battle Creek, Michigan. Don't worry about it, Dave. And the American Seeding Machine Company. So 4 companies merged in 1929 to create the Oliver Corporation. I've got move a couple things. I got more props for today's show. I can't keep it all straight. But here is a sign from the 1800s for the Oliver Chilled Plows. James Oliver in 1852 received a patent for making the chilled plow. What that was a plow mold board that was formed in a mold and quickly chilled to give it exceptional hardness and smoothness so that the soil didn't stick to it. It's a similar story to John Deere, who made the first self-scouring steel plow. The difference is that the Oliver Chilled Plow was a cast plow, and it had a smooth surface so that the sticky soil wouldn't stick to it, and the quick chilling process gave it a hardened point so that it would stand a lot of wear. So that was one of the companies that came together. So Oliver tractors have had a storied past. You see, in 1906, Hart Par Company was Hart Par was building steam traction engines and then gasoline traction engines. And in 1906, their advertising guy was writing the word gasoline traction motor in an advertisement he was doing, and he said, boy, that's a lot to write. And he coined a word that we all know now, and that is the word tractor. And it is the conjunction of tract for traction, and tor from motor. So traction motor became tractor. The word was invented by somebody at Hart Par. Hart Par became part of the Oliver Corporation in 1929. The Hart Par Corporation was in Charles City, Iowa, North Central Iowa. We've been there 2 different times. David, my cameraman, and my youngest son was there with me 5-6 years ago at the site of the former factory. Oliver is a very, very unique company, and they built their tractors in a couple of places, but the majority of them were built right there in Charles City, Iowa. We'll talk more about Charles City in just a minute. I want to share with you my love for the 2255 tractor, and here is a few toy representatives of it. The 2255 was the biggest tractor made by the Oliver Company. This little one right there is a spec cast version of it in 1/64 with front wheel assist, which is what we collect out here, with the front end slab weights. This one is also a spec cast toy. This is from the 2006 Hart Park Oliver Collectors Association show, their annual show. So it's a serial numbered limited edition toy. If you look at the 3-point hitch, and we'll see it on the real one, you'll see it has hydraulic cylinders that lift and lower the 3-point links instead of a rock shaft like other tractors have. You can also see it on this one over here. This 2255 front wheel assist over here is, I'll tell you about that in a second. Let me not get ahead of myself. We'll go back here and start with my love for it. If you can look at these pictures, Dave, can you zero in right there and get that one? This is the old New York Tractor Pullers Transfer Sled from 1974. New York Tractor Pullers Association at that time was centered out of Fort Plain, New York, out in the Mohawk Valley. And the Logan brothers, big corn growers out there, kind of ran the association. That is a Landau Haul-All sliding axle trailer converted to be a transfer sled. When this would show up at our Washington County Fairgrounds, we'd put the pan underneath where the fifth wheel is, connect it at the fifth wheel, load a couple of tractors on it for ballast, and then through a system that these guys had devised, the sliding axle would move back as the tractor pulled down the track and exerted more pressure on the pan. It was a pretty ingenious invention, but it was long before the days of the self-powered sled. So the sled got pulled back. That was my first year. Come on over here a minute, Dave. That little boy right there in the international hat is me, 4 or 5 times the size I was back then in 1974. But I was on the measuring crew, and I was absolutely in awe at the pullback tractor that we were using at the fair. And it belonged to Stephen Walblig from Greenwich, and he had a 2255 Oliver with front wheel assist, and I had just never seen anything so magnificent in my life. And I had hoped one day to maybe get a toy one of it, which of course nobody made toys of it at the time. And so years later, I was out in Dyersville, Iowa at the National Farm Toy Show. And another old tractor puller, he's passed away now, Coleman Wheatley, who was originally from Indiana, but then went and bought several thousand acres in the Delmarva Peninsula and went on to become a cash crop farmer down there, owned a company called C&M Farm Toys. And this is a spun cast Oliver 2255. This toy probably weighs 10 pounds compared to the mass-produced factory ones. This one has suitcase weights instead of the front slab weights. It doesn't replicate the front end exactly right, but the rear end is the Oliver planetary rear end on the 2255 tractor. Now, when I tell you the 2255 was the most powerful tractor Oliver ever made, somebody's going to say, no, that's not true. The 2655 was this articulated tractor, but it wasn't. This tractor is less horsepower than the 2255. All this is a Minneapolis Moline A4T 1600 dressed up in Oliver clothes. And that tractor is not as much horsepower at the power takeoff as the 2255. We're going to leave that one alone because that's another story, because we've got that one coming up in a future episode here, because we have an actual A4T 1600 to share with you. So back to this toy. I fell right in love with it because of seeing Stephen Walblig's tractor that year in '74 pulling the sled back, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. I bought this toy from Coleman Wheatley. It's been a treasure of ours in the toy room in our home, and I dug it out this morning because I was just excited to talk about this tractor. I forgot something else at home, darn it, but anyways, we'll get over that. This tractor is all individually cast pieces. The grill is cast, the weights are cast. There's a lot of craftsmanship right there. This one has the Caterpillar 3208 engine in it. This one also has the 3208 in it. But the Oliver 2255 they introduced them in 1972 in the height of the tractor horsepower wars. and it came out with a Caterpillar 3150 engine, which was 573 cubic inches. This 3208 was introduced halfway through the 1974 model year, and it is 636 cubic inches, so it's 1 liter more. And the interesting thing is the 2255 was tested at the University of Nebraska tractor test, and it was an advertised horsepower of 140 horsepower. And when they put it through its rigorous test at the university, it put out 146.72 horsepower, so it well exceeded its advertised horsepower. Now, you'll remember from previous episodes here that a tractor has to undergo the scrutinous test at the University of Nebraska to be sold in the state of Nebraska. And so when the tractor was upgraded to the 3208 motor in 1974, it never got tested again. Oliver advertised it at the very same 140 horsepower that they had been, but they were not legal to sell in the state of Nebraska. So if you ever see a 2255 in Nebraska, it did not get sold there new, and of course now 50 years later, they're all over the place. There were only 2,160 of these tractors made, and as far as I know, less than 500 with front wheel assist. I've tried to find that number, and I have one resource I haven't checked yet, but I will. I'll get the answer. Maybe we'll talk about it another time. But the beauty of Oliver as a company is the other green tractor, their clover white paint job on the front and meadow green on the green is known in a lot of places where they're far more popular than here in upstate New York. We only had one small dealer here in Washington County, and then we had Sid Shaven down in Albany County who did a big job with Oliver tractors. And there's still a bunch of tractors that Sid sold and sold parts for working in Saratoga County at Barber's Dairy, and they've been great Oliver and White tractor customers over there. Chad, I hope you're watching, but I know you're probably knocking down hay right now. So without much further ado here, let's go outside and look at the real tractor. I'd love to point out some things on this 2255. We're proud to own one. I never in my wildest dreams ever thought I'd own one. Here, you get the back of my shirt, Dave, my own Oliver shirt. This tractor came from an auction, and I meant to bring the auction flyer over to show you. It was the Dumont collection of Sigourney, Iowa. Lyle and Helen Dumont did a beautiful, beautiful job collecting Oliver tractors and restoring them to a level that you don't see very many places. And their auction catalog, when they decided to sell their collection through Almond Auctions 5 years ago, I guess. Well, it's funny, the day this tractor arrived, we were at the Oliver plant, right, Dave?
That's right.
We were at Charles City when it got here. So anyway, that catalog, I affectionately call it tractor pornography. I've never seen a more beautiful auction catalog in my life. There was 11 front wheel assist tractors in there, and I would have been proud to own any one of them. But my real dream was this 2255 because of the impact it had on me as a little kid at the fair when Steve Walblig had that beautiful 2255 front wheel assist pulling the sled back. So here's ours. We'll do a quick walk around. We just got her out of the barn. She's got a few water spots. But this has the 3150. This tractor is a 1974 model, which is the year they went to the 3208 motor. But nonetheless, ours is the earlier serial number of that year, so it's got the 3150. It has the Clark planetary front wheel assist axle on it, and it also has the Oliver planetary rear wheel axle on it. This engine is backed up by a over-under hydraulic shift, which is a 3-speed auxiliary transmission. It's behind the clutch and ahead of the transmission, and it gives you 3 gears within each gear. So there's a second power shift lever that says under, direct, and overdrive for each gear. This has the time-honored and famous Oliver, that door don't
Twist
open?
it up.
Oh.
Up.
6-speed transmission. So this has high and low range on the transmission within 2 gates. So you get the shift pattern quick or not? Anybody want to see that? So you have 6 gears on the main transmission, 3 speeds on the auxiliary. This tractor is meticulously maintained. Hats off to the Dumont family and their restoration people for doing such a beautiful job. This one is a dream come true to own, and one of the proudest tractors we've got out here. She's got a beautiful sound, and she's just a beautiful tractor. Sits on 38-inch rubber. This has, there was an option on these tractors to have, if it was an open station tractor, to have fender fuel tanks, which gave you 39 gallons of fuel in each fender on top of the standard tractor issue fuel tank that was on there, which I forget how many gallons that was, but you get an extra 78 gallons when you got the Fender fuel tanks. This tractor has the cab, which wasn't manufactured by Oliver. It was manufactured by a company called Crenlo, who made cabs for John Deere, made it for Oliver, made it for Minneapolis Moline, and made them for Cockshut, which really at this time was the same as an Oliver, but that's a story for another day. So when you add the Crenlo cab, then you have these fuel tanks right here, which kind of replace the Fender fuel tanks that would have come from Oliver on that option. If you look back here, you'll see the hydraulic cylinders that we talk about that lift the 3-point hitch. This tractor has its original top link with its original ball. It's got 2 rear remote valves, and it's got 540 N1000 PTO on it, which was an option as well. Factory air conditioning, which you'd want in that cab, because those Crenlo cabs were just like being in a greenhouse. You know, they would cook you. But she stands pretty proud. We love this tractor, and it's one of the flagships of our collection. Once again, we want to give credit to the Dumont family in Sigourney, Iowa, for saving this tractor, for restoring it, and for putting it up for auction so you can make a little boy in Hudson Falls, New York's dream come true. We just love this one, and I'll never forget the gasp I took that day when I saw a 2255 front wheel for the very first time. She's a doll baby. So if you would share this show, we sure do appreciate it, and look forward to bringing you more episodes of The Toy and the Real McCoy. It's a good day to knock some hay down, which is exactly what's going on here at Heartland Farm today. We need some rain. I know other people are getting plenty of it, but we haven't had enough of it, so we just have to deal with what we get. And my dear departed friend Tommy Steele, a local farmer here in Kingsbury, said, just because the tractor ain't stuck don't mean you're having a drought. So wishing you all the best. These are tough times we're in. I want you to keep the faith, and remember those that fought for our freedoms, and let's not give them away. Thank you. And